over a Padlet link where you can type out your questions. We will share the Padlet link in the Zoom chat in a moment. So without any further delay, let me go right ahead and introduce our speaker. As you already know, it's Mr. Suresh Piris. Mr. Suresh is the founder of InfoWaves and currently serves as the CEO of the company. He's also working as a consultant for Sustainable Education Foundation and an organizer at Google Developer Group. He's an expert in cloud computing, DevOps, and backend development. He also has a keen interest in product development, requirement elicitation, project management, business and software diagramming, and artificial intelligence. So with that in mind, I would like to call upon our speaker. Hello, Mr. Suresh. Good evening. This virtual stage is yours. Over to you.
Thank you for that introduction. Let me share my screen. Hope you all can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
All right. So to start off the topic for the day, I'm going to talk about introduction to Google Hashcode and competitive programming. And I would like to thank the Mozilla Club of IIT for inviting me to take part in this session. And yeah, let's start off. So before I move into the main topic, I'm going to share some of the key insights to competitive programming events and some of the programming competitions. So let's get started. So before I start off the session, can I know how many of you are first years? Can I see a raise of Zoom hands? All right, 12, 14. Great, all right. So, I'm going to introduce you some of the competitions that are available that you all can take part as similar to the Google Hashcode. So these are some of the key competitions that you all can take part: hackathons, competitive programming challenges, designathons, ideathons, and datathons. So hackathons is a type of contest that the participants are supposed to come up with innovative solutions for a given problem domain. So they are supposed to code their solution within a given period of time. So for an example, let's say there are multiple hackathons happening these days. There are virtual hackathons and there are physical hackathons. So in most of these hackathons, they used to give you a problem domain and we are supposed to come up with your own solution. So yeah, that's all about hackathons. So we're not going to talk much about hackathons today because we are going to focus more on competitive programming. So when it comes to competitive programming, this is more like an algorithmic based competition where we have to create a code that matches an input and output. So we'll talk about this in future slides. So during this presentation, we'll be talking more about competitive programming, as I mentioned earlier. So talking about ideathons is a competition where the participants are supposed to come up with innovative ideas and business plans within a given period of time. So these are competitions. These competitions are judged based on the innovativeness, feasibility, and business plans. So talking about datathons is more like a data science hackathon. So can I see a raise of hands those who are following AI degree in IIT? All right, I see a couple of hands. Great. Okay. So if you are following like data science and AI degrees, definitely these sort of hackathons you all can take part in. In datathons, what you all have to do is basically, it's more like a hackathon based on data science. In this, generally, the organizers will give you a data set and the business problem they have, and your task will be to find a way to use that data set to solve the given problem. So I recently took part in a hackathon called Octave, which is organized by UNICEF Moratoire. And there are quite a lot of interesting datathons happening. And there are many universities organizing these datathons that you all can definitely take part in. Also, if you're good at UI UX designing, there are hackathons called designathons. So this is for the UI UX folks. So in this, you are given a product idea and you have to come up with a UI design for app, which will fulfill the product idea. So as I remember, the IEEE branch of IIT held a competition called IX, I think that was held last year, I guess. And in Slick also, they are organizing a great design-a-thon called Code Fest. You all can definitely, if you are into UI, definitely you all can check out this competition and take part. All right, so back to the main topic, hackathons. What is a hackathon? So hackathon is a creative way of problem solving, as I mentioned earlier. So let's get into the competitive programming domain. So Hashcode is going to be a competitive programming challenge that you all have to complete within a given time frame. So competitive programming started out as a mind sport, like competitive chess or Scrabble. Some people still approach it that way, but in recent years, it has become better known for programmers to demonstrate their coding skills. So nowadays, most of these big companies are using competitive programming to get their new recruits. So when you get into the industry in the third year, you might have to face a lot of interviews, right? So in the interviews, they will give you a lot of logical questions. In most of the companies like Cisco Labs, WSO2, Zone 24/7, those companies offer you some logical based questions, and you all are supposed to come up with creative solutions to address the problems that they have given. So by doing competitive programming, definitely you can improve your sorry about that. I think there was a small connection interruption. Um,
We can hear you now.
yeah, all right. Hope you can see my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, the screen is a little, I don't know.
Give me a second.
Okay, now it's all good. You're not sharing your screen.
All right. Sorry about it. There's a small connection issue from my end.
All right, it's fine.
All right. So basically, as I explained earlier, I think you all were able to hear that part which I mentioned about the recruits from the companies. So there are competitive programming competitions happening ranging from small scale virtual competitions to global level events. So in Sri Lanka, there are multiple competitive programming challenges happening that you all can definitely check out and take part. So if you guys are trying to become good coders, never miss a single opportunity to learn from each step. So yeah, let's move on. So these are the reasons why you all should take part in competitions as much as possible. The main reason is test your limits. So sometimes we all have to be in competitive environments to evaluate ourselves, right? So working hard doesn't make you a good program, but working smart does. So while working in a competitive environment, you all will be able to evaluate yourselves with others as well. And you can definitely gain a lot of knowledge. You can meet a lot of people. And yeah, so there are a lot of other benefits by taking part in competitive programming challenges. So I know there are some people here who have been doing coding for like three to 4 years before joining university, but knowing to code doesn't mean that you will be good at hackathons, especially in time-based competitive programming challenges, because it's not how fast you can change these blocks. It's about how you tackle the problem, and it's all about coming up with the appropriate solution in the given time frame. So that brings me to the second point, which is gaining knowledge. Things you can learn just from playing along in hackathons can't be learned from YouTube videos. So in hackathons, you will get a totally different experience rather than watching YouTube videos. You will get a totally different experience while taking part in hackathons. So As you can see in my slide deck, you can see there are some of the hackathons which held in IIT. The first one is from the Hashcode Hub that was held in 2020. And the second picture is from the IEEE Extreme Compression that held in IIT in 2019, I guess. And in my right side, you can see some of the compressions that I took part along with some of my friends. And yeah, so finally, there are a lot of benefits, as I mentioned earlier. You can earn swags, you can have fun, and finally, you can find job opportunities. So emphasizing more on job opportunities. For an example, a competition like Hashcode will give you opportunities to work in full-time for Google. So in case if you're able to go into the global finals, they hire the top rankers in the global finals to Google. So there are opportunities like that. And the big companies always look for people, those who are good at competitive programming. So those are the main benefits that you can get while taking part in hackathons and competitive programming challenges. All right, so let's have a look at the outline of a competitive programming challenge. So first of all, a problem statement will be given and the inputs will be given, outputs will be given, in the output formats, input formats, everything will be given. So we are supposed to code your solution. So in most of the competitive programming challenges, they follow the same pattern. So first of all, you need to get a prompt with question in it. You need to read the question and understand it properly. Then the question will specify the input format that you are getting and how you should format your output as well. Then the most important step is that you need to select the algorithms that fit the given use case. So this is tough decision and there's no standard way of doing this. So I usually go with my gut feeling. So it's all about experience. So that's why I always encourage you guys to take part in competitions as much as possible. So then only you get the required experience. So yeah. So after we planned everything, now it's time to get our hands dirty. So first of all, you need to select a programming language. So at this point, you all might be thinking, better programming as Java, maybe so it's up to you actually. So you can do is work all right, so a test case is going to be inputs and outputs that your code should run in. And the platform will run your code and feed the inputs in the test case and see if the output produces the expected outputs for the given test case. So if you get the correct output, you will get points. So that's how it usually works. So in the further slides, I'll show you how the test case looks like and how you should tackle the problem. All right. So the final part, the submitting part. So if your code passes sample test case, you can go ahead and submit. But be aware, some competitions have restrictions on how many times you can submit the code. So for an example, I think IEEE Extreme had this limitation where you can submit the code only a few times. But if you submit the wrong solution, you will get 0 points. So there are some limitations in some of the competitions, but in Hashcode, the format is different. You will have to submit the output. So yeah, so when you submit the code, the platform will run your code against the private test cases. So if your code passes all the test cases, you're good to go. Yeah, I think I covered pretty much everything about the test case and the submission part. Let me show. All right, so I hope everyone has a brief idea about what competitive programming is and how the structure works. So now let's talk about Hashcode. Hashcode is a Google organized team programming competition, open to students and professionals worldwide. The participants can choose their own team and programming language for completing the problem. So a team can have 2 to 4 members, and you all can choose whatever programming language that you all are comfortable with when you are competing for Hashcode. So talking about the competition structure, there are 2 rounds. as a qualification round and the global finals. So the qualification round is going to be held on the 24th of February. That's going to be held virtually. So I think IIT, in IIT, the Mozilla Club is hosting the hub. So yeah, so if you get selected for the global finals, definitely it's going to be held in Google head office. You all can take part there as well. And the qualification round is going to be conducted via virtual hubs. So we'll look at what virtual hubs in further slides. All right, so before that, I'm going to talk about the Google's developer ecosystem before I move into the next phase of my presentation. On a side note, a Hashcode hub, the Hashcode is being a Google organized competition. There are many other community programs that Google does. Apart from Hashcode, these are the main communities offered by Google that you can be part of. So as a first example, you can see the GDG program, which is the Google Developer Groups program. And Google, it's more like a developer group that you all can part of. There are many events hosted by GDGs. And for an example, the Google I/O event and DevFest event. And those are some of the main events hosted by GDG. Also, there are a lot of webinars. If you all check out their Facebook page, you all can find out all the events and all the interesting things about GDG. Also, there's this program called Google Developer Experts. So it's a program for the people who want to share their knowledge on Google technologies. And there's this program called Women Tech Makers. So it's only for ladies, those who are interested in coding. And there's this Google Developer Student Clubs. Unfortunately, it's not available in Sri Lanka right now, but it will come in the future as well, hopefully. So if you want to know about more about the Google Developer communities, you all can visit the links that I have shared over here, and you all can get to know more about it. So let's have a quick look at a video offered by Google, how the communities works. Yeah, so yeah, I think we all had a brief idea about Google communities in this video. So Google communities are not only for professionals, but it caters to a huge audience, including students, entrepreneurs, developers, and there's a huge audience that Google developer communities caters to. So if you are interested in contributing to a Google developer community, you all can visit this link and you all can join one of the communities that you are interested in joining. There are a lot of interesting things happening. There are hackathons, there are webinars, there are many physical and virtual events. So make sure to visit this link and join one of the Google developer community that you all are interested in joining. So, all right. So let's see what are the other competitions that are similar to Hashcode organized by Google. So the first competition is Google Code Jam. Google Code Jam is Google's longest running global coding competition, where programmers of all levels put their skills to test. Competitors work their way through a series of online encoding passes to earn a spot in the world finals. All for a chance for this championship, and you will be rewarded a huge cash prize of $15,000 if you win the Google Code Jam competition. So this is also similar to Google Hashcode. And we have this competition called Google Kickstart as well. So Kickstart is a global online coding competition consisting of 3-hour rounds of variety of algorithmic challenges designed by Google engineers. So the participants can compete in one of all the online rounds that held throughout the year, and the participants will have the opportunity to develop and grow their programming abilities while getting a glimpse into technical skills needed for a career at Google. So I think the, the registration for Google Kickstart also happening on February. You all can check out Google Kickstart on Google, and you all can register for that as well. If you are a beginner, I would recommend to get registered for Google Kickstart as well. I think that's a good way to start. So one final point is, by taking part in these sort of competitions, your chances of getting into global companies would be much higher. So make sure to take part in this competition as much as possible. So your chances will be much higher when you're getting into companies. All right. So now let's see how we can get prepared for Google Hashcode. So when you're registering for Hashcode, you will have to select a hub. So for the qualification route, so as I explained earlier, there are multiple Hashcode hubs that you all have to that you all can choose and you all can join. So when you're registering, you all have to choose whatever the hub you all are interested in participating. For the qualification round, or your team can participate from anywhere using your own computer. To make this round even more exciting, you can participate with a virtual hub. So hubs are actually participant organized community groups of Hashcode teams that are affiliated with university, office, or organization. So Hashcode Hub allows you to connect with your local developer communities while still competing in your team of 2 to 4 people. So joining a hub is optional, but they are a great way to connect with your peers and grow your coding skills. So also there are leaderboards specific to Hashcode hubs, and you can definitely evaluate your coding skills by taking part in a Hashcode hub. So I'll quickly show you how to find a Hashcode hub at the end of this presentation. Yeah, all right. So let's move on. So now I'm going to show you what a Hashcode problem looks like. So in real life, it's going to be a real life practical problem. Usually, it's going to be an optimization problem. I'll explain that later on as well. So basically, it is a special problem that teams around the world would try to solve it properly, and they can compete with each other based on the scoring system, which is called the judge system. So it's more like a logical exam. So in most of this exam, you will get the problem, and you are supposed to come up with a solution, and you are supposed to submit the final answer, right? So in the similar format, you will be given a scenario, and you are supposed to code the solution and produce the correct output, and then finally submit. So usually the problem is going to be a scenario-based one, and you will have to read the entire scenario and understand it very carefully, and then only you should submit your solution. So right. Let me quickly show you a sample Hashcode problem. All right, so hope you can see my screen again. And you can find all the archives of Hashcode on this website, which is the official website of Google Competitions. Under the archives section, you can find all the past questions. Well, finals, qualification rounds, 2020. Yeah, so if you go to 2020 question, you can click on view problem. And this is how problem statement looks like. So as I explained earlier, it's going to be a scenario-based question. You can see there's a story they have given, and you are supposed to come up with a small solution, right? So you are supposed to code the entire solution within the given time frame. So let's quickly have a look at the problem description and the task. So it says books allow us to discover fantasy worlds better understanding. And Google Books is a project that embraces the value of books. Bring to real life, it aspires. In this problem, in this comparison problem, we will explore the challenges of setting up scanning millions of bookstores in the. So basically, we are supposed to come up with scanning algorithm as they have requested. So given a description of libraries and books available, plan which books to scan from which library to maximize the total score of scans. And taking into that account, each library needs to be signed up before it can ship books. So basically, as I explained earlier, they have given some problem definitions, libraries, and the time constraints, and the descriptions and everything. So once you read it properly, you can see the input formats are also given, and the output formats are also given, and you're supposed to code the solution. So this is how a Hashcode problem looks like. So you have 24 days, as I mentioned earlier. You all can go through these past questions and have idea on how the computation looks like, and then get prepared. I'll share this link over the WhatsApp, over the Zoom chat as well. All right. All right. So now let's see what are the restrictions that are there when it comes to solving a Hashcode problem. So for a problem, there's no specific solution. So it's going to be a common solution for everyone. Depending on what programming language you choose, there's no different solution. At the end, you're going to have similar solution of everyone, regardless of the programming language you choose. And the reason for that is at the end, you will have to submit the output data, unlike other competitive programming challenges. So in most of the other competitive programming challenges, you are supposed to submit the code, but in Hashcode, you are not supposed to submit the code. Instead of that, you need to submit the output file. So as I mentioned earlier, there are inputs and there are outputs. So you just have to process the output locally and then just upload the output file into the Hashcode platform. So then, so in the Hashcode platform, the gradings will be done. So basically, it's going to be offline processing, unlike the other competitive programming challenges, because you're not going to submit code, right? All right. So now let's have a look on how to solve a problem. So when talking about that, there's no specific way of solving a problem. Every programmer has his or her own unique coding style. So at the end, all the participants should have the same output, as I mentioned earlier. To clarify this problem approach, I'm going to give you a small example on how to approach a problem. So before I explain this slide, I'm going to give a small disclaimer. So I'm not going to promote any hotels or brands in this slide. So yeah, all right. So I think most of you have been to hotels, I guess, and you all have had delicious buffets and all, right? So let's just imagine you are at Shangri-La and you are going to serve your own dinner, and you might get confused, right? So even I used to get confused when I see a huge buffet. So what I usually do is I'll go through the menu and I'm looking at the ingredients. So once I have a look at the menu and the ingredients, I start to choose. I would try something that I never tried before. So you will start looking up at the ingredients, and secondly, you will try something that you have never tried before. And if it's tasty, you will take more, right? So that's how you usually choose your food when you are at a buffet or a restaurant. So the similar approach has to be taken when you are solving a problem. So I'm not encouraging you to have food when you're coding, but yeah, a similar approach has to be taken when you're approaching a problem as well. So initially, what you should do is you need to read the problem and completely twice or more, and you need to find your own algorithm. As I mentioned earlier, you need to find your own algorithms and solve the problem manually with 3 sets of sample data. And you need to optimize the manual steps and write manual steps. So basically, they provide the sample data. Make sure to get some easiest test cases from provided ones. Maybe if you are familiar with pseudocodes, you all can write down some pseudocodes as well. And yeah, so those who are not familiar with coding algorithms, you all can prepare your pseudocodes and then give it to someone who is really good at coding. So make sure to have someone who is good in converting pseudocodes into coding as well. So yeah, so make sure to choose the most familiar programming language for you. So that's how it works. So it's up to you, and it's up to you to decide the algorithms. It's all about the experience. All right, so let's have a look at another approach on breaking down the problem. So for an example, just imagine the problem has a huge data set, and it won't be possible to manually write it down if it's too large. So we are supposed to come up with a reducing approach. For an example, just imagine problem is like if they have given like 100 to 100 matrix, and you can reduce it down to 10 by 10, reduce it down to like 10 by 10, and then start solving it manually by using pen and paper. So I think this could be the easiest solution to come up with a solution, easiest approach to come up with a solution. First of all, try to solve it manually, and then you can code the reduce problem. And if there are issues with the code, you all can optimize the code to match the test case that they expect. And you all can change the dimensions to the actual input file. So basically, sometimes they might give you a format of the input files, and you might need to alter your code to match the actual input file. So that's the approach that's called a reduction approach. So this will be used to break down the code, the solution into smaller chunks, and then solve it. So yeah. So talking about the preparations. So practice is the key to success, as we all know. And if it is a given theme, focus on it, but don't forget the others. If the contest is based on some ideas or only on some data structures or algorithms, try to focus on it, but never ever forget the other ones, because you don't know when you have to have the opportunity to use something that you wouldn't expect to. So therefore, make sure to be familiar with the unused algorithms as well, and that's how you should be prepared, because you don't know what will come. So don't stress yourself. Even if it's a contest, it's not meant to make you stressed. So before, while it happens, and even after you do it, be chilled as much as you can, and try not to get some problems when they shouldn't be there. One day before, don't touch any algorithms. So just don't do it. You will have to keep your eyes and minds focused more than ever on the things you do that day before, and it might screw you up. So do anything else. You can take a walk, you can read a book. Just don't touch any algorithms or problems. So this might work for some of you, but for majority, I wouldn't recommend this doing this like getting prepared on the previous day itself. So yeah. Also, as I mentioned in the earlier slide, split the problem into small chunks. So a lot of competitive programming challenges come with very big descriptions, and that might get you scared. So just get a piece of pen and paper and read a phrase and shortly remove the unnecessary words and try to translate them into more understandable logic. So as I shown earlier, the past question, it might be complicated for some of the people. So what you can do is you all can get a piece of paper and you can write it down in understandable logic, and then try to compute the correct approach in the eye itself. So for this, I would recommend doing tutorials from Topcoder. So there's a website called Topcoder that you all can refer to. In Topcoder, there are really useful tutorials which teaches you on how to break down programs and how to find the optimal solutions. So just head over to Topcoder and have a look. Finally, don't miss the fun. Even if it's a competition, it is a great opportunity to meet new people, same passions like you. So don't forget to talk, socialize, and have fun. So in the end, I can tell you this: stay focused, but don't go obsessed with it. Take your time, and even if you don't get it at the first time, keep working, and everything will be complete. come expected at the end. So make sure to keep practicing. So I'm going to share some tips and tricks when you're competing in competitions. So here are some of the useful tips and tricks. The first one is do not reinvent the wheel. The reason why I say this is, some of you might think that you all have to write the program from the beginning itself. So in most of these competitive programming hackathons, you all don't have to write the entire code from the beginning itself. You all can use the libraries. So in Python, in languages like Python, Java, in most of these languages, they have inbuilt libraries for sorting and for some of the common arithmetic operations. So you all can use these libraries that would save your time and that would make your life easier. So one of the key trick that I can give you is that use Python. Because I think you are learning Python in the first year, so it's a good language actually, because there are no data types in Python, and because of that, it's going to make your life much more easier when it comes to competitive programming hackathons. And there are a lot of inbuilt libraries and there are a lot of inbuilt functions. So make sure you use Python if you're a newbie into this competitive programming thing. So the other thing is find good enough solutions. So when doing competitive programming, sometimes we have to compromise and on accuracy to gain some efficacy. Example, if your code can find the perfect solution, but takes 12 hours to complete, we won't receive any points because we ran out of time, but our code is accurate like 80%. So accurate is most cases we'll get to 80% of the marks. So always focus on the accuracy and efficacy both, because in some of the cases that's how it is. So make sure to focus on the accuracy. The second point is deconstruct the problems. So in competitive programming challenges, you often it's hard to understand at once. So we need to break down these problems and solve it then and from the ground up. Because these big problems are usually made by combining small problems. So you are supposed to, as I mentioned earlier, just break it down to smaller pieces and then come up with the optimal solutions. And those who have heard about hash maps, it's a really important trick. It's a really important thing when it comes to any challenge. This is some trick I picked up from a YouTube video about coding interview. So what you need to do is, if you feel stuck in some location, you can introduce a hash map there. So it's going to make your life much more easier. So make sure to use hash maps also. Solve the problems by the complexity. So in some of the competitions, there are multiple challenges. So in Hashcode, there's only one challenge, but in most of the competitive programming competitions, there are multiple challenges. So what you should do is, first of all, try to sort the easiest questions first, and then try to complete the advanced questions in the last. So easy problems has less points, but if you are able to complete these questions first, you don't have to worry about running out of time and missing out of guaranteed points. So make sure to choose the easiest problems first and then complete it. So once you are done with the easiest ones, you can move to the advanced ones. So yeah, the other thing is be mindful about pitfalls. So in some of the competitions, some organizers put pitfalls in their questions. So some people go wild on this, and some of the people might not be able to recover from these pitfalls. So yeah, so make sure there are pitfalls as well. So you need to find out where the pitfalls are, and then you need to find the recovery plan as well. So the other point is taking advantage of concurrency. So this kind of advanced topic, but if you can master, you'll be able to get a lot of benefits from concurrency. Sometimes you will encounter problems where you can parallelize some tasks. So when it comes to most of these time sensitive tasks, you might have to use concurrency to save the time constraints. So make sure to use concurrency as well to parallelize the other processes. So in Hashcode, you will require to generate the output locally and submit it, and you can save a lot of times by using concurrency here. And finally, knowing your algorithms. So knowing ins and outs of most of the high profile algorithms would give you a lot of benefits in these competitions. So in my opinion, computer programming is like 80% about the algorithm. So you need to learn a lot of algorithms to do a computer programming challenge. So yeah, that's my advice. So these are some of the key algorithms that you will learn when competing for a challenge. So at the first glance, you will may think that this is complicated, but never give up. Just always keep trying. Some of you may find hard on the first competition itself. It's not always about winning, but the experience matters. So you all can always refer to some of the online sources that I have given. So at the end of this presentation, I can share this slide deck and all the links are there. You all can refer to these sources and check out these algorithms. So these are going to be so much useful in competing for a challenge. So as in the greedy algorithms, number theory, searching, sorting, tree and graphs, recursion, sorting algorithms, geometry, and advanced data structures. So those are going to be so much useful when you're competing challenges. So yeah, so you need to be familiar with these when you're solving algorithms. So now you guys might be thinking where to start. So for beginners, for absolute beginners, you all can do some basic HackerRank problems. So HackerRank is basically a platform where you can learn computer programming. So I have given a link to a small, very basic challenge. Yeah, so I have given 4 problems. You all can try attempting these problems. Also in HackerRank, there are many other competitions as well, and there are many other training materials. You all can check out these training materials and try to complete and try to practice with these. So yeah. Also for intermediates, you all can try approaching the past questions from Google Hashcode, and you all can approach some of the questions from HackerRank as well and try to take part in competitions like this as much as possible. So that's going to give you a lot of experiences, and definitely take part in these sort of competitions. All right, so these are some of the key learning resources that you all can use to learn computer programming: HackerRank, Topcoder, USACO training. So basically talking about this USACO training, it's the official training platform which is used by the International Olympiads in USA. So you all can check out the USACO training platform as well. It's really good. There are some interesting problems they have given. And in HackerRank, it's the most popular platform, Topcoder, Codeforces. You all can choose any platform and you all can be familiar with computer programming if you are not. So yeah, I think I covered pretty much everything, I guess. So finally, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and I'm open for questions.
All right. What a wonderful session. Thank you very much, Mr. Suresh, for that amazing and engaging session. I believe you just tapped into ever so subtle nuances and broke them down in such a way that anybody could understand. So thank you very much for doing that. And guys, the most awaited Q&A session is on the brink of the start. But before, I would like to encourage all of you to post any questions for the speaker through the Padlet link given in the chat. We are more than happy to help you out and clear out your doubts. And in fact, that's the whole point of this awareness session. And also, we will share the Hashcode registration link right now. You can go ahead and start registering your teams. And if you do not wish to compete as a team, you can go ahead and register yourself as an individual contestant. And also please note that maximum number of members per team is 4, and only the team leader is supposed to fill out the form. All right. On that note, Let me start the Q&A session and read out the very first question we got here. Okay. All right, we have a beginner here. One person is saying, I'm a total beginner and I'm a bit intimidated by this event. Should I go? Pretty straightforward question.
Definitely. So as I explained earlier, I think, yeah, so I'll share a small experience from my end. I think even when I was 15 years old, I want to take part in a computer program hackathon, but I had no idea about these algorithms or whatever the methods that we should use. I just had some basic understanding about Python and few programming languages. So I just want to try it out. So I entered this competition and I scored 0 marks. So I didn't give up. I tried many competitions as much as possible, and I was able to secure some good. I kept trying, and finally I was able to secure some good places in competitive programming arena. So never give up. And in the first competition, you might not score well, but when you're getting the experience, definitely you will get good marks.
Okay, I hope we answer your question, whoever asked that question. And next question is, what are the main algorithmic topics that you would recommend us to revise before the competition?
Yeah, so as I shared in my slide, the final slides, you all can see some of the common, I have shared some of the common algorithms that you all can use. I'll share my slide deck link with the organizing committee, and they will share you the link with you all as well. So in that slide, I have listed down some of the commonly used algorithms that you all can use to solve these sort of problems. I think yeah, that would be helpful, I guess.
Okay, all right. Next question is, someone is saying, I tried past Google Hashcode questions and it took me a long time to understand questions properly. Are there any tips and tricks that you have can help us to digest the problem statement faster and effectively?
Yeah, so I think as I mentioned earlier, you need to break down the problem into smaller chunks. So you all might not be able to understand the problem at the first glance. So what you all can do is just break down the problem into smaller pieces. So if it's the problem from, for an example, let's say if I take the problem from 2020, you all might have to break the problem into smaller parts and then try to come up with partial solutions. So with the partial solutions, you all might be able to like ensemble all the partial solution and come up with a master solution at the end. So make sure to like break the problem down into smaller pieces, and at the end you all can ensemble the problems and then get a master solution. So maybe you all can use like a pen and pencil to do this task, and yeah, that's how you should. That's how you approach this sort of questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Suresh. Okay, next question is, give me a 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay, one person is saying, I'm not clear about the different rounds in Hashcode. How can I qualify for the global round?
Yeah, so in Hashcode, it's like this. So in Hashcode, you'll have to, they are choosing 50 teams, I guess, for global rounds. The ones who score highest in global final, in the qualification round, they call for the global final. So basically, in the qualification rounds, you all can score as high as much as possible. I'm actually not sure about the exact number they are calling for global finance. Maybe you all can just head over to their website and find out. Yeah, so they are actually calling some number. I'm not exactly sure about the number, but you all can definitely check out that on their website.
Okay, all right. Guys, we are running out of time, so we only have time for one last question. Okay, our final question is, can we participate more than one competition at the same time? I mean, can I participate designation and hackathon at the same time? Will those overlap?
Designation. I think he's referring to designathon, I guess.
Design. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So designathon is a different type of question. It's a different type of competition. But if there are designathons and if there are computer program challenges happening in the same time, you all can definitely take part in both. There's no restriction as such. So Hashcode is different. Hashcode is a different competition. Those are like different competitions. Yeah, it's up to you to decide on which one take part.
Okay. Thank you, Suresh, for answering all these questions and clearing out our doubts. On that note, I'm going to conclude the Q&A session. Again, our major gratitude goes to Mr. Suresh for conducting such a valuable session and sharing his priceless experience with us. And I think this will have made a huge impact, especially on our participants who are eager to compete in Hashcode this time around. And also our lovely audience. We appreciate your participation and your engagement throughout the session. That's wonderful. Also, we plan 2 more awareness sessions to give you an idea about Hashcode. So stay tuned with us and do keep an eye on our social media for more updates. We'll keep in the loop via WhatsApp groups as well. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, literally pretty much everywhere. And on that note, I think we can successfully conclude our very first awareness session on Hashcode. We hope to see you guys in our second awareness session. Until then, stay safe and have a good night, everybody.